promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Free at last, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Sanger. For more than 30 years, a group of volunteers in our community have worked together to affirm the rights of our neighbors, particularly those neighbors who might otherwise hesitate to speak up for themselves. We are the Larchmont Mamaroneck Human Rights Committee. Today we celebrate the legacy and indeed the inspiration of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
My name is Sharon Latimer Mosley. I am the LMC Media Center liaison to the Larchmont Mamaroneck Human Rights Committee. The Larchmont Mamaroneck Human Rights Committee seeks to offer a voice for those in our community who may feel voiceless and to inform everyone about essential perspectives on human rights. We are concerned about threats to human dignity, and we work to remedy individual, institutional, governmental, and community cases of unequal or disrespectful treatment of anyone in Larchmont and Mamaroneck. The Larchmont Mamaroneck Human Rights Committee provides educational programs for the whole community and addresses instances and issues as they arrive. Each January, we continue our long-standing tradition of sponsoring a community ride celebration honoring the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the 34th Annual Martin Luther King Celebration. My name is Lorenzo Mitchell, and I'll be your virtual MC. I've lived in Mamaroneck for over 30 years, and I've also had the pleasure of working in Mamaroneck schools for over 20. I've also just become a new member of the Human Rights Committee. The committee decided to take a different direction with the commemoration this year. We decided to focus on healing and bonding through helping others. The pandemic shed light on inequality and need in our community. Tonight we are here to acknowledge the time and efforts of individuals and groups who were able to help others. Our lives are inseparable. While different, they are still interwoven into this thing called humanity. Different groups throughout our community look to bring forth social justice as well as bring the community together. Dr. King once wrote, "We are caught in an inseparable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly." In his Nobel Peace Prize speech, Dr. King explains, "I have the audacity to believe that people everywhere can have 3 meals a day for their bodies, education and culture for their minds, and dignity, quality, and freedom for their spirits." Let us take a look at the actions of how some in our community made Dr. King's vision a reality. Thank you for joining our 34th Annual Martin Luther King Jr. celebration. Let us continue to work together as a community to stay healthy during the pandemic, work towards equity in all of our institutions, and learn and work together. In the words of Dr. King, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Thank you for your time.
These groups came forward to make masks, to keep us physically safe, or to emotionally support our children and families around how to navigate homeschool, family dynamics, and other stressors and uncertainties brought on by COVID-19. Let us take a look at some neighbors who jumped to the call.
Hello, I'm Rosanna Moyles from Mass for Money, and I'm here with my co-founder and daughter, Alyssa.
Hi, so we just wanted to say a big thank you to the committee for recognizing our work, and Mass for Money was the brainchild of my mom. So in March of 2020, when the lockdown and when quarantine hit us, she recognized that there was a shortage of masks and also that there was a lot of unemployment going on in the community.
So we reached out to the Community Resource Center and we're worked with Gerandi Martinez, who put us in touch with women who were unemployed due to the pandemic, who were also excellent seamstresses.
Because we don't sew, so instead we had 9 incredibly talented seamstresses who were producing the thousands of Masks for Money masks, and we would love to give those women a shout out.
Liliana Garcia, who was the supervisor and made everything happen. Brazilda, Concepcion, Maria Olga, 3 very talented sisters, Elvira, Elodia, Milda, and then Jovita.
And so while the women were sewing the masks that so many of you bought, we were behind the scenes. We were picking out fabrics, doing marketing for Masks for Money, as well as selling the masks. And in addition to selling, we had so many community members reach out and donate, as well as sponsor a seamstress, which helped keep our initiative running and getting the seamstresses paid. So we're so thankful, and to the community members who not only bought our masks, but just told all of their friends and all of their family, and just helped spread the word about Masks for Money. And we actually still have around 500 masks available. So if you want a Masks for Money mask, or if you want another, you can buy our mask through our Facebook page, Masks for Money, or check out our Instagram. And we're always available for any questions. And we just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you.
For close to 50 years, the Larchmont Mamaroneck Community Counseling Center has provided affordable and professional compassionate counseling and prevention services to the Larchmont Mamaroneck community. At the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, we at the LMC-CC transitioned all of our services to online platforms, where we are seeing young people and families, providing parent support services, and partnering with our local school district to meet the needs of students during these challenging times. La Casa, our Spanish language service, provides many of the same services to the local Hispanic community. The need for what we do has never been greater. During this unprecedented pandemic, our community is seeing 3 times the prevalence of anxiety disorders, 4 times the prevalence of depressive disorders, and elevated levels of suicidal ideation as compared with previous years pre-pandemic.
What they refer to is the enormous stress, emotional and psychological stress that's being put on all of us.
Our phones have been ringing off the hook. People who are struggling in our own backyard with anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, needing help. And thankfully, this gift enabled us to hire somebody so that we can support more people.
Hi, we are a public nonprofit agency supported by the 3 municipalities, Village and Town of Mamaroneck, the Village of Larchmont, as well as the Mamaroneck School District, and receiving other local donations from Larchmont Avenue Church and other private donors. Thank you all for your support so we can continue our important work. Stay safe, and thank you.
For more information on the Larchmont Mamaroneck Community Counseling Center's services, please go to our website at www.communitycounselingcenter.org.
Hi, I'm Lisa Boileau. In 2020, I responded to the PPE crisis by setting up Masks for New York, an organization with 8 hubs throughout Westchester, engaging over 300 volunteers, and we managed to create close to 25,000 masks. They were entirely donated to hospitals, senior centers, and food banks, and made from donations of materials and labor, both from volunteers in the community and from Neighbors for Refugees, whose expert sewists also joined in the effort. We are heartened, I am heartened by such a groundswell of community engagement, and it was an incredible experience, and thank you.
Some use the word shutdown. Some describe living one long day. But for the families we work with, there was no pause. Life's hurdles pressed on. When COVID hit, families within our community were already facing difficult circumstances. Add fear, anxiety, loneliness, a lack of normalcy for everyone. And our work to bring stability and relief was compounded. When families face tragedy, Larchmont Friends of the Family steps up to alleviate their day-to-day stress. Whether it's providing childcare, housekeeping, meals, or paying for rent, medications, therapies, we focus on filling gaps so families can focus on healing. In 2020, we remained committed to families facing serious illnesses or experiencing the death of a loved one. We enhanced our meal train to include local restaurants who cooked meals for families in need, and partnered with the school district to guide families in crisis while schools were remote. All the while, many of our volunteers continue to serve on the pandemic's front lines. For Larchmont Friends of the Family, there was and is no stop. We don't know what's ahead. We don't know how we'll be called. But with you by our side, we'll relieve needs, offer smiles, and bring to our community a sense of stability.
As families in our community face serious illness and loss of loved ones, the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic has made it all the more difficult. The success of Larchmont Friends of the Family is made possible by the generosity of our neighbors and a shared commitment to uplifting one another.
A good deal of residents were unaware of how many vulnerable neighbors live among us, struggling with food insecurity, rent issues, and even eviction during the pandemic. These following groups stepped up and took action, believing that it is every human being's right to have food and shelter.
Here in the Worker Center, we had organized all our day laborers. We have them in a chat group. So anytime we get a job offer, I just send a message and they immediately start answering. At this point, we had gotten 46 jobs in the last 4 months. This week, gladly, we found a job for 4 guys for a full month, which means like $3,000 per each of them. Many of them are owing rent for more than 1 or 2 months. So whatever little job that we get them, it will help a little bit to start paying back what they're owing.
One of the things that we already were seeing as an imminent thing that will happen was the evictions, looming. Although there's a moratorium in place, that means that there are families that are getting seriously indebted. And at some point, they have to face that. They have to pay that back.
La preocupación de todos es el pago de la renta. Mi esposo ha estado yendo a trabajar pocas horas, entonces hemos estado como completando un poco para los alimentos, pero sí nos preocupa tanto la renta porque no sabemos hasta en qué momento el rentatario nos va a decir hasta aquí, ya no.
Eviction prevention has now become one of our most important issues and something that we are partnering with community-based organizations across the county.
We came out with a virtual forum to inform families about their rights and how to communicate with their landlords. With our emergency fund, we are now planning to see how we're going to provide those families the opportunity to stay here in their communities, to continue raising their kids in Mamaroneck among the community that they know. Because the trauma of the pandemic, I don't know how are we going to forget that, but we don't want to add another trauma, which is relocation.
We're in Columbus Park in Mamaroneck, New York, and the line snaking through the park, socially distanced, to a parking lot at the far end there is for food distribution. People who need help feeding themselves and their family. Here in one of the wealthiest counties in America, the problem that was here before the pandemic has exploded since the virus came to stay.
We're distributing 4 times as much food as we did pre-pandemic. We've doubled our frequency from every other week to every week.
Right now we are packing all together nearly 800 bags, and we have 4 assembly lines running at the same time.
The need is immense. What used to be an indoor bi-weekly food pantry has been driven outdoors by pandemic precautions and dramatically enlarged by the sheer number of people now seeking help. Experience has taught the volunteers that pre-assembling the food baskets speeds up distribution. Nothing fancy here, just the basics.
An assortment of dairy, protein, canned goods, dry goods, pasta, rice, beans, chili, lots of fruits and vegetables, as you can see.
No one is ever turned away, and the line runs from afternoon into the evening. Neighbors in need are asked to register. Many are repeat clients. The number of grocery bags offered to each will vary with the size of the family waiting for the food, and it's only a 3-day supply.
Mostly the poorer people that are running paycheck to paycheck. And so if they lose work, they're in trouble.
It could be anybody. You never know. I've seen so many people who are on the wealthy side, who are on the non-wealthy side, and they'll come and get something here, or they've been wealthy and something happened because of the pandemic, and now they're here.
You only make so much, So we come here and we get the food, and it's good. It helps.
Not many people are anxious to talk about needing help, but their sheer presence in such numbers every Tuesday has caught the attention of their more fortunate neighbors. The Hunger Task Force spends $15,000 every week to ensure there is enough food on hand. Donors have been generous.
3 weeks ago, we were in the middle of our distribution, hundreds of people coming and going, and a woman walked into the parking lot. She had been driving by, and she asked me, well, what's going on here? And I quickly explained what's going on, and she wrote me a check for $500, handed it to me, and drove off.
Volunteers have been generous as well, although they report getting plenty in return.
First it makes you feel good, and then you're just helping your neighbors and other people. And I show my children, which I have 4 of, what it's like to be a good person.
People don't realize that in this area of Westchester, people have so much in general, but there are so many people who don't, and they tend to be a little hidden away, but they're there. It's real. So I want to do what I can.
It feels good to do something versus having to just kind of wait and be out of control and let all the bad things happen. There's a little bit of something that you can give back and do.
Good afternoon. I'm Phil Oldham, president of the Larchmont Mamaroneck Lions Club. Our club is part of the International Lions Clubs, the largest service organization in the world. In fact, we have 20 clubs right here in Westchester County. Our motto is, we serve. The Lions' core causes are eye health and blindness, hunger, childhood cancer, diabetes, and the environment. And we are also signatories with the United Nations resolutions on child, women's, and refugee rights. Yet our primary concern is community. Right now, the challenges facing our communities are significant and urgent, and the need to work together for the common good has never been more important. We serve by supporting the groups and nonprofits that are already responding to the specific needs in our community and of our residents. During the crisis, the Lions have been busy working with many groups, addressing many needs. To mention a few, we work with CURE and other community groups to raise funds for the Community Resource Center to help our neighbors at risk find and afford suddenly restricted medical supply needs. The dollars donated by the Lions was a challenge to others to make their own donations. Our Lions secured 2 Lions $2,500 grants to support local service groups assisting coronavirus affected residents. The first was provided to the Fuller Center's DART program, which provides food and necessities to our community's most vulnerable. The second grant was given to the STEM Alliance Navigators Virtual Mentoring Program, which provides students a personal mentor who assists with digital fluency and provides homework support. The LM Lions joined with our local government and community groups on 2 community improvements, the playground in Columbus Park and the Quaker Barker Cemetery in Larchmont. We held our annual Peace Poster contest for our local middle schoolers this past fall because our primary objective is to bring community leaders together to share ideas and resources, Many of those leaders have become Lions, positioning they and us to continue to be more engaged partners in coordinating service to our community. The LM Lions Foundation has also been an important support to the new and short-term service efforts who have yet to establish their own 501c3 status by providing fiduciary support for donations earmarked specifically for their properly vetted service. I want to thank all our community service groups who gave the Larchmont Mamaroneck Lions the opportunity to serve our community through your efforts. The COVID situation will be resolved, yet need and crises in our communities will remain. The Larchmont Mamaroneck Lions will be here with you to ease the pain and build a stronger community.
Responding to the needs of the community when they are so many and so complex was not something we were equipped to do alone. At the start of the COVID-19 crisis, a group of local volunteers representing many organizations and municipalities formed the Coalition for Community to coordinate local efforts to respond to the community needs created by the COVID-19 pandemic. The coalition supported massive food and lunch and hot meal distribution, medical and essential needs and clothing drives, direct social worker support for children and parents, and free COVID-19 and flu shot testing. They also provided for our children's continued growth with access to technology and the Co-op Camp STEM remote learning program, as well as virtual mentoring. Through the help of hundreds of volunteers, we have effectively managed to keep our community safe and alive through this pandemic. Tonight, I want to thank all of the partners of the Coalition for Community, all 20 members, for your unyielding support this year and beyond. Without you, we'd be nothing.
For me personally, as I saw those themes, depth and breadth of need, emerging in those early weeks in March, I knew that there was no single organization that could handle any one of the tasks before us. All organizations needed to help each other and look at our shared clients from a collective perspective. And we needed to listen to our social workers at the schools, at CRC, and at Washingtonville in order to respond to what the lived experiences of our most fragile community members really is. Those children, those young adults, those adults, many who had never needed to ask for help before. We needed to listen, innovate, and act rapidly and broadly. That is what brought rise to my leadership in forming the Coalition for Community. It's not enough to want to help others in a time of crisis. To do it well and to reduce the strain on our area's social workers, we needed to coordinate and collaborate. The coalition started with weekly phone calls with all of our members. We heard from our PTAs, our school-based social workers, houses of worship like St. John's and St. Thomas, CURE, the Village of Mamaroneck, the Larchmont Mamaroneck Hunger Task Force, Open Door, CRC, Washingtonville Housing Alliance, and Friends of the Family. Certainly, each group had focus issues. For example, the STEM Alliance was naturally focused on learning loss and digital equity. CURE was focused on healthcare access and equities, and people of color being more likely to contract the disease. The PTAs had a strong focus on maintaining the school's commitment to continuing the free breakfast and free lunch distributions. But more important than our focus areas was that the talents that each group could bring to accomplishing large-scale tasks, to meeting the sheer volume of clients. St. John's had space. The STEM Alliance had technical skills, texting platforms, and logistics experience. The Hunger Task Force knew food sourcing and costs. And all of the groups had the capacity to mobilize a tremendous number of volunteers. The pandemic continues. Our work continues. We are still listening, and we are still responding, with actions like developing seasonal street stores for large-scale clothing distribution, providing free devices and tech education to adults and children, creating new setups for outdoor food distribution in the cold of the winter, raising awareness around topics like housing insecurity and fair employment. But most of all, the Coalition for Community is listening. There is nothing more humbling than having to step forward and ask for help. With so many community members suddenly thrust into the vulnerable and fragile situation of needing to ask for help, we are leaning in. We're leaning in to listen and respond together. We are leaning in to lighten the load for all who serve. and we are leaning in to make sure that no voice goes unheard.
Greetings. On March 11th of 2020, I received a phone call from one of the incredible social workers of the Mamaroneck School District letting me know that an announcement was going out later that day, informing parents that as of Monday, March 16th, the classes would all go to remote learning due to the pandemic. And she had not yet received affirmation that the funding would be approved for the free and reduced breakfast and lunch, for which there are 987 students that are eligible. And could we help? And I said yes, with having no idea at that moment what that would look like. And I immediately put out calls and emails to my fellow clergy in the area. And within an hour, we had a team of 7 houses of worship ready to go. Those churches were St. John's Episcopal, Larchmont Temple, St. Thomas Episcopal, St. Augustine's, Larchmont Avenue Church, Mamaroneck United Methodist Church, and St. John's Lutheran Church in Mamaroneck. We set up a quick relationship with U.S. Foods, thanks to help with some parishioners. And by Monday, we had a delivery of non-perishable food items to go into bags that would be distributed twice a week to help fill that gap of the reduced amount of food that would be able to be given out during this time. And through the generosity of the houses of worship themselves, the members of those congregations, and the community at large, including a couple of foundations, we were able to raise over $100,000. And from the time we started until the time the students went back on campus, we distributed over 10,000 bags of food, often able to include extra treats out of the generosity of donors. What an honor it is to be a part of this community that comes together so quickly to mobilize to make a difference for good. We are very blessed.
Our school administrators have formed a district equity team, which will work with community members to build more culturally conscious schools that will serve all students. In addition, we acknowledge the great efforts that the local STEM Alliance took to support our more vulnerable students during this difficult time of virtual learning.
Buenas, mi nombre es Jenny Rodríguez y soy la asistente directora de la High School de Mamaroneck y también sirvo de co-directora en nuestro Comité de Equidad. El tiempo ha llegado en nuestro distrito y también en nuestra nación de tomar el mando para equidad para todos. Estamos dedicados a nuestra misión y juntos con el comité entero hemos creado un plan que han ayudado a la comunidad también para asegurar que vamos a hacer este trabajo todos juntos. En las palabras del reverendo Dr. King, siempre hay tiempo para hacer lo que es correcto, y el tiempo es ahora.
Hello, I'm Leon White, teacher at Thomas Middle School, and I also serve as co-chair on the district equity team in Mamaroneck. The time has come in both our district and our nation to take a stand and to do what it takes, to do what is necessary to work towards equity for all. We are committed to our mission, and along with the entire DET, have worked to create a plan that has also included feedback from all stakeholder groups. We are working towards digging in and finalizing our plans for the remainder of the year. Dr. King once said, the time is always right to do what's right, and that time is now. We take you to the mission statement of the district equity team. The mission of the Mamaroneck District Equity Team is to identify, acknowledge, dismantle, the systemic barriers that prevent equity and access for all students by creating and implementing a sustainable plan for equitable opportunities and outcomes for all.
Queremos compartir nuestra misión con ustedes. La misión del equipo de equidad del Distrito Escolar de Mamaroneck es identificar, reconocer y desmantelar las barreras sistémicas que previenen la equidad y el acceso para todos los estudiantes, creando e implementando un plan sostenible para oportunidades y resultados equitativos para todos.
And the members of our DET all shared their whys when we first formed. And we're going to share with you right now representatives of two organizations, well, rather one member and a representative of a high school organization.
We're the founders of the Multicultural Student Union at the high school. And why we do what we do is for a lot of reasons.
One of them is that we've been in the district our whole lives, and we see the disconnect between students of color and white students at the high school.
And we know as students that other students need encouragement and the right resources to succeed.
Why this work? Because embracing diversity and equity and providing opportunities and access in our school system need to always be our core values as a district. All our children need this, and especially our children who may feel disenfranchised and disempowered because of the amount of melanin in their skin. As a woman who's had to face her own challenges because of skin color, I'm excited to see the commitment our district is making to ensure equality for all students.
We thank you so much for the opportunity to share, and we're looking forward to the reality that the potential outcomes will become. Thank you.
Muchas gracias por la oportunidad de compartir con ustedes y estamos preparados para ver todos los resultados. Gracias.
My house is one of 51,000 houses in Westchester that doesn't have internet.
Just like my house, 30,000 households in Westchester don't have a computer.
I have to use my mom's cell phone to do my homework.
An iPad doesn't work to take AP exams. I need a computer.
I want my family to be counted, and without a computer, it was so hard for us to complete the census.
Without a computer, I started my path to becoming a web designer several years behind my peers.
I need access to Google Classroom. The digital divide makes it impossible without a computer.
As a STEM Alliance tutor, I see siblings trying to attend online school with only one device. That's an impossible situation.
Until I started working as a virtual mentor for the STEM Alliance, I couldn't imagine what it would be like to not know how to log on to Google Classroom. Now I know firsthand how deep the digital divide really is.
Era difícil para mí ayudar a mis hijos en el aprendizaje remoto.
Digital equity for adults means that they can be informed about their children's lives and guide them the way all parents want to.
Businesses have made a commendable commitment to workforce development, but you first have to crawl before you can walk. This is why it's critical for digital equity to be in place before you can reskill the workforce.
M&T Bank believes very strongly that digital equity is a very important initiative in Westchester County, and the STEM Alliance has done a great job in creating digital equity for the communities that they serve in Westchester County.
The STEM Alliance's Digital Equity Now initiative is a simple solution to the problems brought on by the digital divide, the problems that are preventing children from learning, and the problems that are marginalizing some of our most fragile community members and preventing them from engaging in an increasingly digitally driven world. With your support, we can bring devices, hotspot connectivity, and tech education to low and moderate income community members in Westchester County. This work is not charity, it's equity. This work is digital equity now.
Many groups stepped up to provide education around ongoing movements of social injustice, while shining lights on our democratic values and how and why we should preserve them. These conversations fortified our community and kept us learning and growing even in this time of struggle. We thank these groups.
Thank you to the Human Rights Committee for acknowledging our work.
The Coalition for Understanding Racism Through Education partnered with the Community Resource Center at the start of the pandemic to make sure that our more vulnerable neighbors who were essential workers who were sick or lost work had over-the-counter medical supplies. Pam Brandman, Ann Randall, and Stacy DeCristofaro followed the lead of Adrienne de Villa and Janet Roland-Fry to organize Amazon orders, packaging, and home delivery to CRC clients. CURE also worked with the Coalition for Community, which continues to feed our neighbors weekly with over 800 bags of food. After the murder of George Floyd, community members reached out to CURE in order to get advice around how to start conversations about racism in their own lives and in their various community groups. We were humbled to be called upon. We immediately brought back our friend Dr. Baz Dreisinger of John Jay College for a discussion around reimagining police. And we were honored to have Dr. Angel Acosta contemplate 400 years of inequality with us in a meditative healing exercise. Spearheaded by Ann Lobu and Gabby Blumberg, we partnered with LMC Media and produced 6 panel events with experts, highlighting racial inequity in our community exacerbated by the pandemic in systems of education, housing, employment, and immigration. We invited elected officials to weigh in on the issues. CURE is dedicated to educating around systemic racism with the hopes that knowledge can lead us toward collective liberation. This year, we served over 150 families and reached over 500 neighbors with our programs. We are ignited by those that came before us, like the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who asked white Americans to be less devoted to order than to justice. We hope to serve as best we can in the spirit of Keith Yeiser, who gave so much to so many in this community, especially to the students in this school district who saw Keith as a beacon. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Elaine Chapnick, president of the Larchmont Mamaroneck Local Summit. Our group strives to make a better, more caring community by presenting programs which highlight important issues of local interest. Working with LMC Media, these programs are currently held via Zoom on the second Tuesday morning of each month and are open to all residents.
Everywhere you looked, you saw pain and loss.
The situation was dire, and I think we all needed to see some light in the darkness.
If you turned on the TV at night, all you saw were stories of loss and fear.
But on a local level, there was hope. And those were the stories that we wanted to focus on.
LMC stepped in and served as a communication bridge, not only to disseminate important information, but also to uplift our community.
LMC was able to showcase so many heroic acts taking place locally, stories that without hyperlocal media wouldn't have reached a viewing audience.
Welcome to LMC Media and our Community Conversations.
Our Community Conversations pieces were one way to let everyone know that despite all of the terrible tragedies taking place, there were amazing things happening in our community.
People look to those stories for hope and connection. I think that's what's so important. The fact that LMC has kept us all connected.
LMC taught us how to come together digitally. They helped us with every Zoom meeting from the start till now and kept us being able to connect with you.
I just want to thank LMC Media for being there for us throughout this emergency and for helping us look out for one another. You're a vital part of this community, and we could not function and govern and take care of our residents without your vital input.
The Human Rights Committee wants to take a moment to acknowledge the hard work and care of our municipal leaders. That is Town of Mamaroneck, Supervisor Nancy Seligson, Village of Mamaroneck Mayor Tom Murphy, Village of Larchmont Mayor Lorraine Walsh. They kept and are keeping us safe throughout the pandemic, with deep concern for our communities, with transparent communication, and with always looking to improve our lives here. Their hard work does not go unnoticed by us.
We honor those organizations who stepped up to help us through a voting period that looked different than any other time in our history. These groups provided clear information about the platforms and candidates and supported the voters by guiding them through COVID-safe elections and offering them the knowledge they needed to defend our democratic process.
Election Day is November 3rd. It's October 28th right now, and people have been voting in early voting. How can they still participate in early voting?
So, Maura, thank you for LMC and airing this. The league thanks you. It's a really important thing that we're doing. So, quick, I'll move forward. You can early vote from today through Sunday the 1st. The Board of Elections has extended the hours that you can early vote, so I'm just going to quickly run through that. Today, 8 a.m. till 5 p.m., tomorrow, Thursday, noon until 9, Friday, 8 until 5, Saturday, noon until 6, and Sunday, noon until 6.
And on Election Day, you don't go to the early voting sites. You go to your usual polling places?
The place you've been voting for years and years and years, your normal polling station. And on Election Day, you can drop your absentee ballot at your normal polling station or the County Board of Elections.
Can you give a brief preview of the races in our community?
Sure thing. So besides president, we have, there are 4 state Supreme Court positions. You vote for 4 judges, 1 for Congress, 1 for state senator, 1 state assembly person, 1 district attorney, 2 family court judges. If you live in the Village of Mamaroneck, there are 3 Village of Mamaroneck trustees running. And if you live in the Village of Mamaroneck, 1 justice running.
Thank you so much, Peggy Jackson. Remember, there's plenty of time to vote between now and Election Day, November 3rd. For LMC Media, I'm Maura Carlin.
In early 2017, a group of Larchmont friends organized a meeting of concerned neighbors. 100 people were expected, but 600 showed up and Indivisible Westchester was born. 4 years later, there are many Indivisible groups throughout Westchester. Here in Larchmont, Mamaroneck, we have 2 groups of our own. Who are we? We are neighbors, many who were never politically active before, united in a common cause to make positive change by promoting progressive issues and engaging with our local, county, and state governments. Immigrant rights, gun safety, criminal justice, climate change, election reform. These are just some of the issues we've gotten involved with. We focus on taking action, calling our elected officials, knocking on doors, registering people to vote, attending county board meetings, writing postcards to voters, taking part in local rallies, and advocating in Albany. Educating voters has been a central theme for us. We have worked hard to make sure our neighbors know how to vote and about the local issues that make a difference in people's lives. In 2020, we formed a census team to help Larchmont Mamaroneck achieve a complete count. We also got involved in national politics for the first time. Our group formed teams to reach out to voters in other states, especially voter suppression states like Georgia, to make sure they could and would vote. The response of our neighbors has been truly inspiring. In 2020, we wrote 115,000 postcards and made tens of thousands of calls to voters. Our group swelled to more than 400 members. Throughout Westchester and the rest of the country, record numbers turned out to vote. There's so much to celebrate, and yet so much more we need to do. What will 2021 bring? It's a local county election year, and there's a new session in Albany with many critical issues to attend to. As a grassroots group, our members will decide what we work on, but there's no doubt we will stay involved. As one neighbor said, "I caught the bug. There's no going back." Won't you join us?
No American doubts that COVID has had a huge effect on the way people have voted this year. In Mamaroneck, there were about 10,000 early votes and 1,500 absentee ballots out of the total 16,308 votes, more than half. Naturally, this year's early voting was in part due to safety measures with regard to the pandemic, but we have learned again the importance of our vote to decide who runs our country, so important that we were willing to stand in freezing rain for hours with masks on to make a difference. Polls were open for 65 hours across 9 days, and poll workers processed up to 100 voters an hour during this period, playing a small but important role in the election. We honor the many voters, early, absentee, and day of, and all the many poll workers for their participation.
We honor the various groups and individuals who gave us opportunities to participate in the protesting, the reforms, and the moments of healing.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeffrey L. King, Town of Mamaroneck resident. This afternoon, I would like to thank the Larchmont Mamaroneck Human Rights Commission for recognizing the efforts by myself and the Racial Equity Task Force in addressing not only the issues of police reform, but the equally complex issues of raising the social consciousness of our community to address the issues of systemic racism and racial inequities. The Larchmont Mamaroneck Human Rights Commission is an organization that is dear to my heart. My late mother was a member of the commission in the 90s. She spoke for and fought against the same topics that the Human Rights Commission and the Racial Equity Task Force are fighting for today. You know, I believe that we all have a clock within us, an internal moral clock, ticking in all of us, waiting for the moment for the alarm to sound. For some, the alarm will never sound. For others, such as myself, the deafening sound of the alarm will be a call to take action, to speak up against a president that has emboldened white supremacists to a nation that witnessed the killing of George Floyd make national news and has started protests across the nation. Only to find the killing of Andre Hill, a Black man standing in his driveway with nothing more but a cell phone, killed by a white police officer, barely make the news. Yes, the Racial Equity Task Force has undertaken the task of addressing Governor Cuomo's Executive Order 203 on police reform. But make no mistake, the Racial Equity Task Force is standing up when others have been told to stand by. We are working in our community to engage our neighbors in conversations about systemic racism and racial inequities. When the right has been told to stand by, I say we stand, we speak out to fight for what is morally right. Listen to your clock. I'd like to thank the Human Rights Commission. Be well and be safe. Thank you.
like to thank the Larchmont Mamaroneck Human Rights Commission for recognizing us for our work with the Black Lives Matter mural Mamaroneck and for all who helped.
When we undertook this process, we did not expect the blowback that we got from the community, and we really wasn't the community as much as a handful of people. And then come back at it with the village. We had originally lost a 3-2 vote, redesigned it, got the community backing, and we took it to a 5-0 vote in favor. And so today, as you can see, this is only about half the people that are expected to come. You know, it's a great day. Great day for Mamaroneck, great day for the community, and I'm glad that everybody came to support it. This is to prove to us in the village that Black Lives Matter, and we are the second mural to be painted in Westchester. For that, we're grateful to the village.
It's a community project. There have been several people from the community who planned it, who came last night to scope it out and to block it out. And now we have there's so many volunteers that we're taking turns with the brushes and the rollers, and we're just making great progress on the mural. And it's just a really nice community event, and I think it's going to be a nice piece of art, a public statement for the village.
Very happy about this event that's going on. I think that the community has come out and done an excellent job. I'm very happy that we can facilitate it and do our small part in making this happen. In a lot of ways, it's 400 years too late, but the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step.
So this was to bring our community together and help people, let people know that we want them to be a part. We want to be unified and, again, bring our community together. And Black lives do matter in Mamaroneck.
We thank everybody that's here. And we know this is just the beginning of the conversation that we're going to have. With all the trouble that's going on in the world, we know that God is still in control, and He's the one that's going to take care of everything. So we thank you guys for coming. We're just going to do a little prayer, and we're going to ask Brother Needs to pray.
And put a stop, amen, of this separation and segregation, that we'll be banded together in love and unity. God, that we will judge not by the color of our skin, but the contents of our character. We give you praise, and we thank God for you. We thank God because it's only you that can do this, that can bring us together. Oh God, that we will stop the hatred. Only you can touch our hearts and bring us together. And so we thank you. We give you glory because you're the one that we honor. You're the one that we worship. And this unity, for we are together we stand together. Together we bind together. Together we can break the chains, oh God, of segregation and bind together. God, do it. Give us strength. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Amen.
We thank you for joining the Larchmont Mamaroneck's Human Rights Committee's 34th Annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Commemoration. Let's keep working together as a community to stay healthy during this pandemic, to build equity for all of our local institutions, and to learn to grow together with humility and joy.
Lift every voice and sing, tailored than heaven, ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us.